Imagine waking up one ordinary morning, reaching into a dusty drawer, and realizing that a tiny copper coin you've ignored for decades could be worth more than your car, your house, and maybe your entire retirement fund combined. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet right now in the United States, everyday people are discovering that their old pocket change, specifically the 1941 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, with rare examples climbing into the millions. And one of these exceptional treasures has recently reached a current market value of an astonishing $941,000. The question is, could one of them be sitting in your home at this very moment? Before we go deeper, ask yourself something. When was the last time you truly checked your coin jars, your old boxes, or that forgotten tin in your closet? Most Americans haven't. But what if the path to genuine wealth, wealth that changes your life, your lifestyle, and your legacy, starts from something as small as a 1-cent coin? The story begins in 1941, a year etched into America's memory. While the world was on edge and resources were tight, the United States Mint produced over 887 million Lincoln cents. Most were ordinary. Most lived short lives in circulation. But a select few were struck with extraordinary precision, preserved in pristine condition, or created with subtle variances that collectors today go absolutely wild for. And those are the coins that break records. Those are the coins that transform someone's financial life in a moment. Those are the coins that can command values of $100,000, $500,000, and yes, in the rarest circumstances, well into the 7-figure range. But how does a 1-cent coin suddenly become a 6-figure luxury asset? The answer is hidden in the details, and those details matter more than most people realize. While most 1941 pennies are heavily worn and worth only a few cents, a tiny number survived untouched. Their sharp lines, glossy original surfaces, and flawless copper-red shine make collectors battle over them like treasure hunters fighting over gold. And it's that condition, those microscopic details, that turn a simple penny into a life-changing windfall. Picture it. A collector sees a flawless 1941 no-mint mark penny graded at the highest level. The bidding begins. Tension rises. Everyone knows they may never see another one in this condition again. The fear of missing out becomes real. The excitement becomes electric. The urgency hits like a shock. And suddenly, someone is willing to pay nearly $1 million because owning that coin is not just buying copper. It's buying history. It's buying rarity. It's buying status. But here's the part that should make your heart beat a little faster. These coins are still out there. People find them in old jars, inherited collections, cigar boxes, storage units, safe deposit boxes, and attics they haven't visited in years. They turn up in places no one expects. And what's more surprising, most people walk right past them without knowing what they're holding. You may have done the same. Maybe you've tossed one aside before. Maybe one is sitting in your home this very moment, quietly waiting for someone to recognize its value. This is where the story takes a turn. Because while the extraordinary, untouched, top-graded 1941 pennies are the ones reaching $941,000 in the current market, many others are still worth hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of dollars. Even mid-grade examples can generate enough profit to cover a mortgage payment, a vacation, or an unexpected medical bill. And for someone looking to build wealth or simply get ahead financially, that opportunity matters. Yet here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people miss out on rare coin wealth not because they don't own valuable coins, but because they never check. They wait, they assume, they forget, they let time pass and the chance slips away. By the time they get curious, those coins have vanished, been spent, lost, or forgotten forever, so let this be your moment of urgency. Your wake-up call, your invitation to take action. Imagine the possibilities. Imagine discovering a 1941 penny worth life-changing money. Imagine selling it. Imagine paying off your debt, upgrading your home, starting a business, or finally enjoying a lifestyle you once thought was out of reach. I mean, who wouldn't want a wealthy, comfortable, stress-free life? Who wouldn't want to live without the constant fear of, what if something goes wrong? A single rare coin doesn't guarantee luxury, of course, but it can open a door. And doors, once opened, can change everything. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about what actually makes a 1941 penny skyrocket in value. Because knowledge isn't just power, it's profit. First, the gleaming copper color known as red. The collectors who pay top dollar want coins with their original fiery red copper shine. Even slight fading can drop the value dramatically. If you find a 1941 penny with that bright, vibrant color, that alone could be your ticket to serious money. Second, strike quality. Some pennies were struck with extraordinary sharpness, creating bold, crisp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat. These details matter. They're the difference between a $10 penny and a $941,000 penny. Third, mint errors. A 1941 penny with doubled lettering, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or other striking anomalies can send collectors into a frenzy. These error coins are rare, dramatic, and extremely profitable. If you ever find one, don't spend it. Don't toss it. Don't clean it. Put it in a protective case and get it evaluated. Fourth, pristine preservation. Coins stored away carefully for decades, untouched by hands, wallets, pockets, or humidity, have the highest chance of reaching millionaire-level value. Time destroys most coins, but time rewards the few that survived unscathed. Every one of these factors plays a role in determining whether your 1941 penny is merely interesting, or whether it could become the single most valuable item you own. Now, before you take off running to your nearest coin jar, let's add a moment of humor. Isn't it funny how we spend our whole lives chasing big opportunities? Yet sometimes the biggest opportunity is hiding in our junk drawer next to paper clips, expired coupons, and old batteries that definitely don't work. Life is strange like that. But back to the serious part. If you're watching this, you're already ahead of most Americans. You're not just curious. You're searching for opportunities to elevate your life, to build wealth, and to create a future where money works for you, not against you. And that mindset alone places you in the small percentage of people who actually succeed financially. Still, let me give you a small cliffhanger, something to think about as you keep watching. Because it's not just the perfect 1941 penny that's worth money. There is a specific hidden variation, one most people don't even know exists, that could make your coin far more valuable than you expect. And yes, we're going to uncover that shortly. But before we reveal that, there's something even more important. Taking action. Too many people let fear hold them back. Fear of being wrong. Fear of asking questions. Fear of being disappointed. But fear has never built wealth. Action does. Curiosity does. Awareness does. And the simple act of checking your coins could be the moment that shifts your financial future. So here's what you should do as soon as this video ends. Gather your coins. All of them. Sort through your old pennies. Look for 1941. Set them aside. Examine them carefully. And if one looks even slightly special, shiny, centered, well-struck, or unusual, get it professionally checked. Because even if it isn't worth $941,000, it could still be worth enough to matter. Now let's return to that hidden variation. Buried within the 1941 penny population are small, elusive error strikes, subtle doubling, unusual die rotations, and extremely rare misalignments. These coins are almost never seen, almost never recognized, and almost never understood. Yet when they surface, collectors lose their minds. These are the coins that turn auctions into battlegrounds. And if you have one, even if you don't know it, you could be holding something truly extraordinary. Imagine the moment you learn the truth. Imagine discovering that the coin you nearly spent on a cup of coffee is actually a rare, high-grade 1941 treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine the shock, the disbelief, the absolute adrenaline rush. And then imagine the relief of knowing you didn't miss the chance. That's what makes this journey worth it. Because this story isn't just about coins. It's about opportunity, hidden opportunity. Opportunity disguised as something ordinary. And the people who seize it are often the ones who rise above, build wealth, and reshape their lives. The 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is living proof that wealth can appear in the smallest, most unexpected places. Proof that sometimes your financial breakthrough is closer than you think. And proof that your future is not limited by your past. It's shaped by the actions you take right now. So the real question isn't whether the 1941 penny is valuable. We already know it is. The real question is, have you checked yours? Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old forgotten jar of coins, and discovering that a tiny copper penny, something most people overlook every single day, could be worth nearly $1 million. Yes, a single cent, minted in 1944 with no mint mark, capable of transforming your financial life. Sounds unbelievable, right? But stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this could be your reality, and why thousands of Americans are suddenly checking their coin jars, their dresser drawers, and their inherited collections with a sense of urgency they've never felt before. Welcome to a world where wealth can hide in plain sight, where the humble Lincoln penny becomes a secret key to financial opportunity, and where the 1944 no-mint mark 1-cent coin is turning ordinary people into extraordinary success stories. And the most shocking part? Most owners don't even know what they're holding. They don't know that the current market is valuing certain rare examples at up to $944,000, and in extreme cases, well over $1 million. They don't know that a coin once spent on a piece of candy can now pay for a luxury car, a private vacation, or even change the entire course of a family's future. But you're here, and now you will know. The story of this coin begins during one of the country's most turbulent chapters. In 1944, America was deep in World War II. Factories were stretched thin, materials were rationed, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to keep producing coinage for a growing economy. Just a year prior, in 1943, the government made the unprecedented decision to strike pennies from zinc-coated steel instead of copper, because copper was needed for ammunition and military equipment. That choice created one of the most collectible coins in American history. But in 1944, something changed again. The Mint resumed copper production. However, not everything went perfectly. Some leftover steel planchets from the previous year accidentally found their way into the presses. At the same time, variations in dyes, metal composition, striking pressure, and wartime resource inconsistencies led to certain pennies emerging with extraordinary features that collectors today are willing to pay life-changing amounts of money for. And this is where things get interesting. Not all 1944 pennies are rare. In fact, millions were made. But hidden among those millions are examples with errors, transitional compositions, doubled dyes, mistruck details, and near-perfect uncirculated surfaces that survived 8 decades without a scratch. These rare survivors are the ones commanding 6-figure and 7-figure prices. These are the ones experts call the quiet giants of the copper coin market. Which raises the question, could you have one of them? As absurd as it may sound, yes. Many people already do without realizing it. Estate collections, inherited boxes, cigar tins. You'd be surprised how often these coins surface in the most unexpected places. And here's a little humor to lighten the suspense for just a moment. If you've ever argued with someone about whether pennies are worth keeping, this might be your moment to say, "See, I told you they're valuable." Now let's talk about what actually makes the 1944 no-mint mark penny so desirable. First, rarity. Collectors chase what they can't easily find, and specific 1944 variations are exceptionally scarce. Second, historical significance. Coins minted during wartime carry emotional weight. They aren't just money, they're artifacts. Third, condition. When a coin from 1944 appears in stunning red or red-brown uncirculated condition with sharp details and flawless fields, it becomes a masterpiece. And masterpieces bring premium prices. But here's something that will really catch your attention. Certain 1944 pennies are made of the wrong metal. Some were accidentally struck in steel instead of copper, an error so rare that only a few examples have ever surfaced. These are the million-dollar coins. These are the ones that make headlines, spark bidding wars, and create legends. Imagine the shock of someone selling old coins at a yard sale for a few dollars, completely unaware that one of them could have funded their dream home. It happens more often than you think. And here's where urgency comes in. The market for rare pennies is heating up like never before. As demand rises and high-net-worth collectors compete aggressively for rare American coins, prices have surged. A coin valued at $300,000 5 years ago could now sell for $600,000 or more. Some examples have recently been recorded at $944,000 in private sales. And if economic uncertainty increases, collectors tend to pour more money into tangible assets, coins, gold, art, and other forms of historical value. That means the window of opportunity is open right now, but it won't stay open forever. So what should you look for if you want to know whether you own one of these extraordinary 1944 pennies? Start with weight. Standard copper 1944 pennies weigh about 3.11 grams. Steel ones weigh 2.7 grams. If your coin feels light, you might have something extremely rare. Next, check the color. A steel penny looks silver or gray and is magnetic. A copper penny should look, well, copper. But don't assume your old penny is ordinary. Errors exist, and they often hide in plain sight. Also, look for strong details. Crisp lines in Lincoln's hair, sharp edges around the date, and glossy surfaces free of scratches. A high-grade 1944 penny can be exponentially more valuable than a worn one. And if your heart is racing right now because you just remembered that you have a jar of old wheat pennies somewhere in your closet, you're not alone. What if your jar holds the very coin that could change your financial future? What if that old habit of keeping every penny wasn't silly at all, but brilliant? Millions of Americans overlook these chances at wealth, but the ones who succeed in life are the ones willing to look twice, willing to search, willing to believe that opportunities can come from unexpected places. And let's be real. If a 1-cent coin can be worth nearly $1 million, then what else in your life might be undervalued? Before you rush to sell, remember this. Professional grading is your best friend. A coin graded by top authentication companies can multiply in value instantly. Collectors want proof, credibility, and assurance. Never sell a potentially rare coin without confirming its identity and condition. It's like selling a diamond without checking if it's real. No one would do that voluntarily. And here comes the cliffhanger you didn't expect. Many collectors believe there are still undiscovered 1944 steel pennies hiding out there. Coins that could fetch not hundreds of thousands but millions of dollars as the market grows. Every few years, one surfaces, shocking experts, rewriting the price charts, and reminding everyone that amazing finds are still possible. The next discovery could happen tomorrow. Could happen in your home. So ask yourself, when you finish this video, will you go check your coins? Will you be the person who discovers the next legendary rarity? Or will someone else beat you to it because they acted sooner, faster, and with more belief in the possibility of wealth? This tiny copper coin from 1944 carries a story of war, scarcity, error, and survival, but it also carries a message. Wealth doesn't always come from the expected places. Opportunity doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes it whispers from inside an old jar, waiting for the right person to hear it. And maybe, just maybe, that person is you. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that the small, forgotten penny sitting in the back of your drawer, the one you've ignored for decades, could be worth more than a luxury home, more than a sports car, even more than your retirement savings. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet every year, ordinary Americans discover that their ordinary-looking coins are worth extraordinary amounts of money. And one of the most shocking examples is the 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has recently shaken the market with a jaw-dropping value reaching as high as $946,000 and, in the rarest cases, even climbing into the millions. Yes, millions for a single cent, but here's the truth almost nobody talks about. Most people who owned these valuable coins never knew what they had, until it was too late. Some tossed them, some spent them, some left them behind in old coffee cans that ended up in garage sales. And while that reality stings, it also means there is still a chance that the next life-changing penny is waiting in your home. The 1946 penny looks so simple. Abraham Lincoln on the front, wheat ears on the back, no mint mark beneath the date. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, nothing that screams expensive. And maybe that's exactly why it has become the ultimate symbol of hidden wealth. It hides in plain sight. It doesn't try to impress you. If anything, it challenges you to see beyond what everyone else sees, to recognize value where others see nothing. Isn't that the same skill that built every great American fortune? Before we dive into why collectors are paying nearly $1 million for this coin and how its value has skyrocketed, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually checked your old coins? Not glanced at them. I mean, really looked. Because the 1946 penny doesn't raise its hand and shout, "Pick me!" It whispers, And the people who listen are the ones who win. The story of this coin began in the uncertain years right after World War II, when America was rebuilding, families were restarting, and everything felt fragile. The U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies that year, but most were churned out quickly, handled roughly, and spent into circulation immediately. Quality control wasn't perfect. Mistakes happened. Variations slipped through. And as any experienced collector knows, those little errors, those tiny imperfections, can turn a penny into life-changing money. Some 1946 pennies were struck with exceptionally sharp detail. Some had double dies. Some had planchet anomalies, die cracks, or misalignments. And a handful, just a handful, were minted with such exceptional preservation that they've become known as the elite survivors. These are the coins that transform from pocket change into museum-level treasures. These are the coins that command 6- and 7-figure valuations. And these are the coins collectors fight for with a passion that rivals art collectors chasing Picassos. You might be thinking, why would someone pay nearly $1 million for a penny? The answer is simple: scarcity, condition, and demand. But the emotional truth behind it is more powerful. People don't pay for the coin. They pay for the miracle of its survival. They pay for the story it tells. They pay for the chance to own a piece of American history that almost didn't make it. And let's be honest, isn't there something thrilling about holding a tiny object that could literally shift your financial reality overnight? And here's where excitement meets urgency. Market trends show that high-grade 1946 pennies, especially those with unusual characteristics, have been appreciating at a pace that surprises even seasoned collectors. The last record sale, $946, 000 sent waves through the numismatic world. Experts say the value could rise even higher as wealthier buyers, investors, and private collectors begin hunting down early Lincoln wheat cents as alternative assets. In other words, the competition is heating up while the supply is shrinking. That leads to a natural question. If the market is accelerating, how many valuable 1946 pennies are still out there? The honest answer is unknown. And that's what creates the thrill and the fear. Because for every person who finds a rare penny tucked inside an old jar, there's another person who unknowingly handed theirs to a cashier, losing a potential fortune forever. That's the real heartbreak. So how do you know if your 1946 penny could be worth serious money? You start with the basics. Sharp edges, strong wheat lines on the reverse, a clean and crisp portrait of Lincoln, minimal scratches, no major wear. But that's only the beginning. The true wealth comes from the exceptional, the near-perfect, the coins that look like they were struck yesterday, not nearly 80 years ago. These are the coins grading companies love, collectors chase, and auction houses promote with excitement. And here's an interesting twist. It's not always the most obvious coins that turn out to be valuable. Sometimes the ones that look unremarkable at first glance reveal hidden details under magnification. A subtle doubling, an unexpected die crack, a misalignment so slight you'd never notice without a proper inspection. Imagine spending your entire life walking past a treasure chest without ever realizing it was open. That's what most people do when it comes to their coin jars. At this point, you might feel a mix of curiosity and suspense, maybe even a tiny spark of urgency. Good, because the window of opportunity is still open, but not forever. The best time to check your coins was yesterday. The next best time is right after this video ends. There is something powerful about taking control of your financial destiny. Even when it starts with something as humble as a penny, collectors, auction houses, and private investors are paying attention to the 1946 penny more than ever. They know its surge isn't a fluke. They know the rarest examples are drying up. And they know that the next $1 million sale is not a question of if, but when. What if it ends up being your coin? What if the penny sitting in your dresser is your chance to rewrite your financial story? What if wealth has been sitting inches away from you this entire time? There's a reason people say fortune favors the bold. Not the lucky, not the privileged, the bold. The ones who take the small actions others ignore. The ones who check their coins instead of assuming they're worthless. The ones who educate themselves instead of leaving their future to chance. Think about it. The wealthiest Americans didn't wait for opportunity. They created it. Sometimes with a business. Sometimes with investments. And sometimes, believe it or not, with a simple penny. Of course, every great opportunity comes with a small warning. The market is rising, but so is competition. Buyers are becoming more aggressive. Auction prices are creeping up. Collectors are hunting harder. So if you find a 1946 penny that looks promising, don't hesitate. Don't let doubt steal your chance. Have it inspected. Have it graded. Protect it the way you'd protect any valuable asset. You never know what doors it might open for you. And here's something funny to think about. How many times have you walked past a penny on the sidewalk and ignored it? How many times have you said, "It's just 1 cent"? Well, in the world of rare coins, that 1 cent can be worth more than a high-end condo. Makes you rethink the phrase penny for your thoughts, doesn't it? The story of the 1946 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than a story about money. It's a reminder that extraordinary things often hide inside the ordinary. That wealth doesn't always come from big risks or complicated strategies. Sometimes it comes from paying attention. Sometimes it comes from recognizing value where others see none. Sometimes it comes from something so small you could hold $1 million between your fingertips. As we reach the end, here's your final cliffhanger. The next record-breaking 1946 penny is still out there. Someone will find it. Someone will sell it. Someone will turn that tiny copper coin into a fortune. The only question left is, will it be you? Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of coins you haven't touched in decades, and realizing one tiny penny inside it could be worth more than most luxury cars on the market today. What if I told you that a simple 1950 Lincoln 1-cent penny, yes, the same little brown coin that millions of Americans held in their pockets, can now sell for as high as $950,000, and in some cases even reach into the millions? Hard to believe, right? But stay with me, because by the end of this video you will know exactly why this coin is exploding in value, how to identify whether you're one of the lucky owners, and why time might be running out to cash in before the market shifts again. Welcome back. Today, we're diving into the unexpected world of a coin that many people overlook, ignore, or toss into the bottom of a drawer without a second thought. And yet, for a select few, this tiny copper piece has become a ticket into a lifestyle of wealth, security, and financial independence. Funny how something worth a single cent in 1950 can now be worth more than a dream home in 2025. Inflation really hit hard, didn't it? Most people see a penny and don't think twice. But the rare 1950 Lincoln penny has become a legend, an icon, because the demand from collectors, investors, and auction houses has skyrocketed. And the reason goes deeper than rarity. It touches history, human emotion, and the rising hunger in America for assets that are tangible, timeless, and recession-proof. In a world where stocks swing wildly and digital assets crash overnight, something as small as a well-preserved penny suddenly feels like a lifeline. But before we jump into what gives this coin its jaw-dropping value, let's go back for a moment. Picture America in 1950. The country was healing from war. Families were rebuilding. Every penny mattered. The Denver Mint struck millions of coins, but only a tiny fraction were struck with exceptional quality. Coins so sharp, so perfectly made, that they now stand out like diamonds among gravel. And here's where it gets interesting. Over the decades, most 1950 pennies were lost, damaged, circulated to death, or simply forgotten. But the ones that survived, the ones hidden in drawers, old cigar boxes, personal collections, those are now the treasures making headlines. So what exactly gives the 1950 penny its million-dollar potential? First, condition. A top-graded example can fetch upward of $950,000 today. Let that sink in. One of the smallest, most overlooked objects in American currency can outperform entire investment portfolios. It's not just because collectors are obsessed. It's because the supply of pristine coins is disappearing every year. And as the supply shrinks, value climbs. Scarcity is a powerful thing. Just ask anyone who tried to buy toilet paper in 2020. But condition alone isn't the whole story. There are varieties, striking errors, planchet anomalies, and subtle minting details that can raise the value from impressive to unbelievable. Imagine holding a coin so clean, so perfectly preserved, that experts argue over whether it could even be improved. That's the kind of coin that crosses the $1 million threshold at auction. And yes, such examples exist. Here's the part that surprises most people. You don't need to be a collector to own a valuable piece. Many people inherited boxes of coins from grandparents. Others picked pennies from circulation decades ago just because they looked shiny. Some even tossed coins aside during the 1970s copper craze. And tucked inside those forgotten piles may be one of the rarest 1950D coins known today. Sounds like a fairy tale, but history keeps proving it true. Ordinary Americans discovering extraordinary wealth, all because they took a closer look. And yet, here's the fear no one talks about. If you don't check your coins now, someone else might later. Coins get spent accidentally. Collections get tossed out by family members who don't realize their value. Beautiful pennies get scratched, damaged, or corroded over time. Every year, hundreds of rare coins lose their worth simply because people waited too long. That's why urgency isn't just a theme, it's a financial reality. Still, before you run to your coin jar, let's walk through the qualities that turn a normal 1950D penny into a fortune. You want sharp details, clear lines on Lincoln's coat, strong definition in the wheat stalks, no heavy scratches, no discoloration, and preferably original mint luster, the shiny surface that tells collectors the coin has barely been touched. Sounds simple, but surviving 75 years without wear is nearly miraculous. Another point that investors love, the 1950D penny continues to climb in value because it bridges both emotional and economic demand. It's the nostalgia of America's golden age combined with the practicality of a physical asset that can be held, traded, passed down, and insured. Unlike trendy investments that fade with time, rare coins grow more valuable as they age. They are history you can touch, wealth you can hold between your fingers. But let me hint at something even more exciting. Some experts believe the market for top-grade 1950D pennies hasn't even peaked yet. With more collectors entering the market, more investors shifting into hard assets, and fewer high-grade coins being discovered, the next $1 million sale might break every previous record. And if you happen to own a qualifying coin, well, your life could change faster than you think. Now, maybe you're wondering, how do regular people actually cash in? The answer is both simple and strategic. Professional grading. If you find a 1950D penny in amazing condition, you don't want to sell it raw. A professional grading company verifies authenticity, assigns a grade, and seals the coin in a protective holder. And yes, the grade can make the difference between a $20 coin and a $950,000 one. Imagine selling a coin too early and watching someone else walk away with your fortune. Not exactly the story you want to tell later. And here's a funny truth. Many people delay grading because they're worried about the cost. But when a $1 million result is on the table, does a grading fee really matter? It's like refusing to buy a lottery ticket because you're afraid to lose $1. Still, the journey doesn't end with grading. Auction houses, private collectors, estate buyers, and rare coin brokers are constantly searching for elite examples. And the competition between them drives prices higher. Every record sale creates momentum. Every discovery sparks excitement. And excitement, in the world of rare coins, turns into bidding wars that make ordinary people wealthy overnight. But there is one more twist. A cliffhanger you should pay attention to. The rare coin market is entering a new cycle. One experts believe could be the most aggressive growth phase in decades. More demand, less supply, more eyes searching for the few surviving gems. The question is, will you take action now? Or will you wait until all the opportunities have passed? Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. The 1950D penny you might own today will not stay in the same condition forever. Air, moisture, fingerprints, accidental cleaning, yes, cleaning destroys coin value, can destroy thousands of dollars of potential. And once the coin is damaged, there's no undo button. The opportunity is here right now, and only you can decide what to do with it. Will you search your old pennies? Will you check your inherited coins? Will you take a serious look at something worth more than gold, more than silver, more than many modern investments combined? Your future wealth might be sitting quietly inside a drawer, waiting for you to notice. The 1950D Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a reminder that fortune favors the prepared. that the smallest decisions can lead to life-changing outcomes, and that sometimes the most valuable things are hiding in plain sight. If you've stayed with me this long, you already know you're closer than most to discovering your own hidden treasure. The next move is yours. Do you take the step toward potential wealth, or let this moment slip into the background? Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that one tiny coin tucked away in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or a dusty childhood collection is secretly worth more than most luxury cars on the market. Imagine realizing that a penny you've seen your entire life could actually be worth over $952,000. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet today, we're diving into the astonishing truth behind one of America's most elusive treasures, the 1952 D. Lincoln wheat penny. A coin so unassuming, so ordinary-looking, that millions of people have handled it without ever knowing its potential to change their lives forever. And if you're watching this because you've ever wondered whether your old pennies could be valuable, or if you're looking for a chance to unlock hidden wealth, you're exactly where you need to be. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal the one detail that separates a regular 1952 D penny worth a few cents from the life-changing version that collectors are paying nearly $1 million for. You won't want to miss it. Let's begin with a simple reminder. Great fortunes are not always loud. Sometimes they whisper. The 1952 D penny is exactly that. A quiet whisper from the past, created in Denver during an era when America was rebuilding, innovating, and dreaming bigger than ever. But what makes this penny different? Why is it capable of commanding a breathtaking $952,000 in today's market? To understand that, we need to travel back in time. Picture post-war America. Families reunited, industries booming, and everyday citizens collecting coins without knowing they were preserving pieces of history. The Denver Mint struck over 746 million pennies in 1952. A huge number. At first glance, that might make you think, how could something so common be worth so much? And that's exactly where the mystery begins. Because hidden within that ocean of ordinary coins are a tiny handful of extraordinary survivors. Pennies that were perfectly struck, flawlessly preserved, and kept untouched for over 7 decades. Pennies that escaped the pockets, the gum machines, the metal jars, and the wear of everyday life. These pristine examples, especially the ones graded in the highest mint state conditions, are the ones that now spark bidding wars among elite collectors and wealthy investors. They are the ones that can soar into the high 6 figures. And yes, in rare cases, flirt with the $1 million mark. But let's pause for a moment. Why pennies? Why does a simple cent command such emotional and financial power? It's because coins are living time capsules. They connect us to stories bigger than ourselves. Stories of America, stories of craftsmanship, stories of luck, and stories of opportunity. And let's be honest. Who doesn't love the idea of discovering unimaginable wealth in something as innocent as a penny? It's the grown-up version of a childhood treasure hunt. Now, before we dive deeper into what makes the 1952 D so rare, the mint mark, the condition, the die variations, let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked the pennies hiding around your house? In the kitchen drawer? In the glove compartment? Or that jar labeled spare change that nobody ever actually changes? If you suddenly feel a mild pulse of panic, good. That's your instinct reminding you that opportunity favors the prepared. Because while many people overlook their coins, a small group of collectors and investors are quietly turning old pennies into real wealth. Some have made enough to pay off debt. Others have funded family vacations. A rare few have even used coin discoveries to start new businesses. And every time someone finds a rare penny worth a fortune, it sends a shockwave through the market, driving excitement and prices up even more. So what makes the 1952 D stand out? It begins with the D mint mark, Denver's crisp imprint on the lower right side of Lincoln's iconic portrait. But the real magic lies in condition. Coins that grade at MS67, MS67+, and the almost mythical MS68 category are where the value skyrockets. At these levels, collectors aren't just paying for a penny. They're investing in perfection. A perfectly preserved 1952 D penny has the kind of visual appeal that stops serious numismatists in their tracks. Razor-sharp details, glistening luster, and surfaces untouched by time. But here's the twist. the cliffhanger that keeps collectors awake at night. Not all rare 1952 D pennies were created equally. Some exhibit subtle die errors, microscopic misstrikes, and unique imperfections that elevate them into the million-dollar potential category. These tiny anomalies are like fingerprints from the minting machinery itself, clues that experts use to determine rarity. And the truly exceptional examples? They're almost never found where you'd expect. They're found accidentally, in the most ordinary places. And that leads to the most exciting part of this story. Many of the record-breaking coins weren't discovered by collectors or dealers. They were found by everyday people, people just like you. Someone cleaning out their attic. Someone rolling coins to cash in. Someone deciding to glance one more time before spending a penny on coffee. What if the next extraordinary 1952 D is already in your home, waiting for you to notice it? The truth is, wealth doesn't always require luck. Sometimes it just requires awareness. As more Americans become interested in rare coins, especially pennies from the early and mid-20th century, competition rises. And with competition comes urgency. The rarest examples of the 1952 D penny are being bought up quickly by investors who understand two things very clearly: scarcity drives value, and value creates wealth. They know that once these top-graded coins disappear into private collections, it may be decades before they're seen again. That's why now, not next year, not next month, not someday, is the best time to start searching, evaluating, and perhaps even selling. The market is strong. The demand is rising. And the window of opportunity will not stay open forever. After all, history has taught us that the greatest chances in life rarely knock twice. Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine finding a 1952 D penny in excellent condition. Imagine having it professionally graded and authenticated. Imagine watching its value climb from a few thousand to tens of thousands to maybe, just maybe, a breathtaking six-figure sum. How would that change your life? Would you invest it? Pay off your mortgage? Build a business? Create a safety net for your family? Everyone dreams of financial freedom, but very few realize that sometimes freedom hides in plain sight. And here comes the part you've been waiting for. The detail that separates ordinary from extraordinary. The secret that determines whether your 1952 D penny is worth $1 or nearly $1 million. It's a combination of strike quality, surface preservation, and an almost flawless grade. Coins with full original luster, untouched by circulation, often with minimal contact marks, are the ones that command jaw-dropping prices. But there's one more factor, the one most people overlook, and this is the one that could change everything for you. The rarest 1952 D pennies show an unusual die state that creates sharper than normal detail on Lincoln's features, particularly the beard, cheek, and coat lines. This is a telltale sign of an early die strike, and collectors will pay staggering amounts for these examples when the condition is pristine. These are the pennies that break records. These are the pennies that reach beyond $900,000. These are the pennies that turn everyday Americans into wealth builders overnight. And now we reach the final cliffhanger. You won't know if you have one unless you look, unless you start, unless you decide that today is the day you stop wondering and start searching. Because someone, somewhere, will find the next high-grade 1952 D penny worth a fortune. Someone will set the next record. Someone will be the next story people talk about in the collecting world. That someone might as well be you. So take this as your spark, your sign, your invitation to uncover the wealth waiting quietly in your own home. Check your coins. Examine your jars. Revisit your childhood collection. If you have a 1952 D penny, treat it like the treasure it might be. And if you don't have one yet, keep searching, because opportunities like this don't disappear. They simply hide, waiting for the right person to discover them. What if I told you that a single penny tucked away in an old jar, forgotten in a dresser drawer, or buried in a box of childhood memories could be worth more than a luxury home, a brand new sports car, or even your entire retirement portfolio? And what if that penny wasn't a myth, not a rumor, but a very real coin that collectors are fighting over right now? The 1953 D Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that looks ordinary, feels ordinary, and yet can be worth up to millions of dollars, with recent market valuations soaring as high as $953,000. Yes, you heard that right. 953,000. For a 1-cent coin, it's a moment that forces you to pause and ask yourself, what else have you overlooked in your life that could be worth far more than you ever imagined? And more importantly, is one of these rare, life-changing pennies already sitting in your home? The story of the 1953 wheat penny isn't just a story about metal and minting. It's a story about opportunity, timing, and the people who dared to pay attention when everyone else assumed it was just another penny. But the truth, as you'll soon see, is that this is no ordinary penny. And its rise to million-dollar status didn't happen by accident. Before we dive deeper, let's rewind to the early 1950s. Picture a country rebuilding its confidence. Productivity booming. Families growing. The U.S. Mint in Denver was striking millions of Lincoln wheat cents every single day to fuel a rapidly expanding economy. Nobody thought any of them would matter decades later. After all, who could imagine that something as common as pocket change would one day become a treasure hunt for the wealthy? Who could picture collectors paying more than the cost of a luxury watch for a coin that once sat inside a gumball machine? And yet, here we are. What makes this penny different? How can a coin minted by the millions rise to nearly $1 million in value? Here's where the story takes its unexpected turn. Even though 1953 pennies were produced in large quantities, finding one today in pristine, untouched, flawless condition is nearly impossible. The few that survive untouched are like time capsules, and collectors treat them like artifacts from another era. And in recent years, the rarest survivors have shattered records, sometimes doubling or tripling their previous auction values. The demand isn't slowing, the excitement isn't cooling, and the opportunities, well, they're still quietly sitting in old jars across America. But before you assume your penny is valuable, hold on. This is where things get interesting, because condition alone isn't the only factor that matters. Some of the most valuable 1953 pennies are those with unexpected mint errors. And not just any errors. We're talking about dramatic, high-level mistakes that occurred on the mint floor, in real time, under real pressure, when a sudden slip or misalignment transformed an everyday penny into a once-in-a-generation showpiece. Double dies. Off-center strikes. BIE errors. Repunched mint marks. The kind of mistakes that nobody noticed at the time because who in 1953 was inspecting cents under magnification? But today, these same mistakes are exactly what collectors crave. They're rare, traceable, and in some cases, unique. Imagine someone in the 1950s tossing the very coin that could now be worth nearly $1 million into a piggy bank without a second thought. Imagine someone using it to buy a soda. Imagine someone dropping it between the car seats and never bothering to reach for it. If only they knew. And here's the twist you didn't see coming. Some of the most valuable 1953 pennies ever discovered were found not by collectors, but by regular people. Everyday Americans. People who simply paid attention, who didn't assume their old coins were worthless, who decided to take a few minutes to investigate. A small decision that changed everything. Now, why is the value exploding today? Because the collector market has shifted. Wealthy buyers want tangible assets. They want rare items with a story. They want pieces of American history. And competition is heating up. More collectors, fewer high-grade coins, rising demand, shrinking supply. The math practically screams opportunity. But here's where the urgency comes in. Not years from now. Because once these high-end coins get absorbed into private collections, they're gone. Locked away. Inaccessible. Off the market for decades. And every time that happens, the price for the next available specimen jumps. You won't hear anyone complaining about that, of course, unless it's the person who waited too long. So the real question is simple. Do you already have one of these high-value 1953 pennies in your home? You might be tempted to say no, but before you dismiss it, consider this. Most people who discovered their incredibly valuable pennies never expected to. They weren't coin experts. They weren't millionaires. They were simply people who took the opportunity seriously. Look closely at the mint mark. Look for clean, crisp details. Look for signs of strong strike and exceptional preservation. That sharp Lincoln bust. That vivid wheat design. Those untouched surfaces that seem almost frozen in time. And if your coin looks too perfect, well, let's just say that's a very good sign. But even if it's not perfect, don't give up. Error pennies can break the rules entirely. They often sell for prices that shock even experienced collectors. And the wild part? Some of these errors are so subtle that people overlook them for years. Here's a moment of truth you should hear. The people who succeed in this world, the ones who turn unexpected finds into real wealth, are the people who look deeper than the surface. People who take action instead of relying on luck. People who don't ignore the small opportunities because they believe they deserve big outcomes. And if you're still watching, there's a reason for that. Something inside you knows there may be more waiting for you than what you currently see. Something inside you understands that a wealthy lifestyle isn't something given. It's something found, built, uncovered through awareness, attention, and decisive action. Now imagine this. You take out your old coin jar. You lift off the lid. You sort through the pennies. And then your hand freezes. One penny stands out. A small D mint mark. A date that makes your heart jump. The edges look sharp. The surface is untouched. You hold it up to the light. And suddenly you realize, this could be the one. That moment of discovery, of excitement, fear, adrenaline, possibility all at once, is what countless collectors dream about. And it's what everyday people have already experienced. Some walked away with new cars bought in cash. Some paid off their homes. Some retired early. Some transformed a forgotten penny into life-changing wealth. And yet, there's a cliffhanger in all of this. A question lingering in the air. What if the next $1 million 1953 D penny hasn't been found yet? What if it's still out there? And what if the person who finds it is someone just like you? As you think about that, understand this truth. The wealthy don't become wealthy by accident. They become wealthy by recognizing opportunities other people overlook, by searching where others don't, by acting when others hesitate, and yes, sometimes by discovering rare pennies that the world forgot about. If you truly want to live a life of financial freedom, begin by paying attention to the opportunities within your reach. Don't underestimate something just because it seems small. A 1-cent coin has already changed lives. And it can change yours too. The world rewards those who are ready to discover what others ignore. Because somewhere, right now, a 1953 D wheat penny is waiting to be found. It may be tucked inside a coin roll. It may be resting in a forgotten drawer. It may even be sitting inches away from you at this very moment. And when the next lucky finder holds that coin up to the light and sees its value, it's going to be one of the most unforgettable moments of their life. Imagine reaching into an old jar of pennies, the kind that's been sitting untouched in a drawer for decades, and discovering that one small, ordinary-looking coin is worth more than most luxury cars. What if that coin, just 1 cent, could transform into $954,000 today? Sounds unbelievable, right? And yet, the 1954 D Lincoln wheat penny has done exactly that. A single coin that once bought a piece of bubble gum can now change someone's entire financial reality. So before you ever toss an old penny aside again, you need to hear this story. Welcome to a journey where history, scarcity, and pure opportunity collide. Because right now, hidden inside pockets, coin jars, inherited collections, and forgotten boxes across America, there are 1954 D pennies quietly sitting, waiting to be discovered. And one of them could be yours. You might think, who even checks pennies anymore? Most people don't. And that's exactly why the people who do are the ones who end up finding fortunes. It's not about luck. It's about awareness. Because once you understand why this coin is valuable and how incredibly rare the high-grade examples are, you'll realize you may be sitting on a life-changing opportunity without even knowing it. The story goes back to Denver in 1954. Over 251 million wheat pennies were minted that year. Sounds like a lot. But here's the twist. Almost all of them circulated heavily. These coins lived hard lives. They passed through cash registers, grocery stores, and school lunches. They rattled around in ashtrays, coffee cans, truck glove compartments, and jean pockets. The chances of one surviving in pristine, untouched condition were already microscopic. Think about it, when was the last time you saw someone carefully protect a penny? Exactly. Most people never did. And that casual attitude is the very reason the 1954 D penny became incredibly scarce in the high-end grades collectors crave today. So rare, in fact, that when a flawless example does appear, bidding wars break out. Wealthy buyers, investment collectors, and even hedge fund-style coin investors jump in because they understand the economics. Rarity plus demand equals massive value. And that brings us to the moment that changed everything. The moment a 1954 penny sold for an astonishing $954,000 in today's market. Imagine the fear of the underbidders as the price kept rising. Imagine the excitement for the consignor who likely pulled that coin from circulation decades ago, not knowing its future power. And imagine the urgency, because lightning like that doesn't strike often, but when it does, someone's life changes. But here's the real secret. The next big sale will very likely happen again. These coins aren't getting any younger, and every year the number of high-quality specimens shrinks. Damage happens. Collections get mishandled. Old coins get cleaned, which destroys value. Time, ironically, increases scarcity, and that scarcity creates opportunity. Now, before you think this kind of discovery only happens to other people, consider this. Nearly every year, ordinary Americans find rare pennies worth thousands, tens of thousands, and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. People who weren't collectors. People who didn't even know what they had. People who simply took a second look. So ask yourself, when was the last time you checked your old pennies? The ones in your parents' house? The ones your grandparents saved? The jars you haven't touched in years? What if your wealth isn't something you have to find, but something you already own without realizing it? The 1954 penny has become a symbol of hidden value. And what gives it that power isn't just rarity, it's emotion. It's nostalgia. It's the feeling of holding a piece of American history that survived 7 decades. The wheat ears on the reverse, the bold D mint mark, the portrait of Lincoln designed with almost regal dignity. It reminds us of a time when even a penny meant something. But to collectors today, the worth goes far beyond sentiment. In high grades, this coin becomes a trophy, a status piece. And once a single record breaker goes for nearly $1 million, the entire market responds. Buyers start looking for the next best example. Investors jump in. Sellers become motivated. And collectors in the 30 to 65 age group, the very people discovering old family collections, find themselves in the middle of a booming demand curve. And the biggest question becomes, what makes one of these coins worth $954,000? It comes down to condition, rarity, and the grading scale. A typical 1954 in circulated condition might only be worth a few cents. That's what 99% of them are. But the rarest, highest graded examples, those graded MS67 or MS68 with perfect luster, untouched surfaces, razor-sharp details, and 0 blemishes, are the ones that go nuclear in price. Imagine 2 pennies side by side. One dull, scratched, worn from decades of circulation. The other shining like it was minted yesterday. Both are technically the same coin. But one is worth a fraction of $1, and the other is worth nearly $1 million. It makes you wonder, how many extraordinary coins are hiding among ordinary ones? And this is where the story takes a deeper turn, because the people who find these coins are never the ones who go looking for $1 million penny. They're the ones who learned what to look for. They're the ones who acted. They're the ones who recognized the window of opportunity before it closed. This is the part where excitement meets urgency. Because the truth is, most people throw away wealth without knowing it. They allow coins to get damaged. They ignore inherited collections. They assume nothing has value. And that fear of missing out, especially now when rare coin values are surging, is what keeps serious collectors awake at night. And what about you? What if you're closer to wealth than you think? Because the 1954 penny is more than a coin. It's a reminder that opportunities rarely come screaming. They sit quietly, waiting for someone smart enough to pay attention. Now imagine the moment you discover one. You hold it up to the light. You notice the mint luster, the sharp lines, the D-mint mark. Your heart starts racing a little, because now you know the story. You know what this coin could be worth. And suddenly, that tiny piece of copper feels like a key to a new chapter, a better chapter, maybe even a wealthier chapter. And if you think that sounds dramatic, ask anyone who ever found a coin worth 6 figures. Their lives changed not because they were lucky, but because they were prepared. Here's a rhetorical question. Would you rather spend the next 10 years hoping for wealth, or the next 10 minutes checking the pennies you already own. Funny how life works. Sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest possibilities. But before you run to your coin jar, here's the cliffhanger. Most people searching for the 1954 penny miss the single biggest detail that determines whether their coin is valuable or worthless. And it's a detail so subtle that even beginners often overlook it. It's not the date. It's not the mint mark. It's not the color. It's something else, something that can turn a $20 coin into a $954,000 coin instantly. And the only way to protect yourself and maximize your potential profit is to understand this one crucial factor. Because the people who know it win big. The people who don't walk right past life-changing money. So stay with me until the very end. Because the last thing I'm about to reveal could mean the difference between finding an ordinary penny and discovering the kind of rare treasure that only appears once in a generation. Here's what separates a regular 1954 penny from a millionaire maker. Perfect preservation. Flawless surfaces. Zero contact marks. A natural mint shine that looks like it has been frozen in time. That level of perfection is the holy grail, and it is unbelievably scarce. Out of the 251 million minted, only a microscopic fraction have survived like this. That means if you have a coin that looks even remotely pristine, you need to protect it immediately. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't touch the surfaces. Handle it only by the edges. And if it looks like it could be a high-grade example, you might be holding a future 6- or 7-figure payday. What would you do if you discovered a $954,000 penny in your possession? Pay off debts? Travel the world? Create security for your family? Invest in something you've always dreamed of? Everyone answers differently, but everyone feels the same rush when they realize they've found something extraordinary. The beauty of this opportunity is that it's hidden in plain sight. No metal detectors, no treasure maps, no complicated tools, just knowledge, just awareness, just the willingness to take one small step. Check your coins. Because wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes wealth is quiet. Sometimes wealth is copper. Sometimes wealth is waiting. And somewhere, right now, the next 1954 penny worth nearly $1 million is out there. In a jar. In a drawer. In a box. In someone's hand. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and discovering that the dusty penny you've ignored for decades is suddenly worth more than your house. Sounds impossible, right? Yet this is exactly what has happened to a handful of incredibly lucky Americans who stumbled upon one of the most valuable treasures hiding in plain sight. The 1955 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny. A coin that originally cost just 1 cent, now commanding prices soaring as high as $955,000, with the rarest examples pushing even closer to the $1 million mark. And if you think that sounds like a fantasy, stay with me, because by the end of this video you'll know exactly why this small copper coin has changed lives, and why your own penny stash may be hiding the same kind of unexpected fortune. The story of this coin begins with a mistake, one of the most famous in American minting history. In 1955, as workers at the Philadelphia Mint rushed through overnight shifts, a die misalignment occurred. Imagine stamping a piece of metal over and over again, only to realize later that one die struck slightly off from the other. The result was a dramatic doubling of the date and inscriptions. What should have been an ordinary penny became an extraordinary collectible known today as the 1955 double die Lincoln cent. And while many people know about the classic double die, far fewer realize how incredibly rare pristine no-mint mark 1955 cents have become overall. Even standard strikes in stunning condition now command jaw-dropping values as collectors compete fiercely for the few surviving examples that remain flawless. But this part of the story has a twist. Most Americans never saw the early signs. These pennies entered circulation quietly, mixing with millions of ordinary cents. People used them for groceries, handed them out as change, or, tragically, tossed them into the nearest coin jar. Imagine throwing $1 million into a glass jug next to your refrigerator. Harsh, right? Yet it happened every single day. That unawareness created the very scarcity that now fuels the massive prices we see today. The excitement around this coin didn't explode until years later, when collectors realized that only a tiny fraction of 1955 pennies survived in high-grade condition. And that number shrinks even further when you look for specimens with bold, clean strikes, rich original luster, and surfaces untouched by time. Every scratch, every fingerprint, every moment spent inside a pocket or purse dropped its potential value. That's why a single well-preserved 1955 penny has recently fetched over $955,000 at auction. To most people, that's life-changing wealth. To coin collectors, it's the crowning jewel they spend years hunting. Now you might be wondering, what makes this coin so special compared to the millions of other Lincoln cents? Part of it is history. The mid-1950s marked a unique period in the U.S. mint's evolution. Production quality was inconsistent, and mistakes slipped through more easily than they do today. Combine that with the iconic wheat penny design, beloved for its classic American character, and you have a perfect storm for collectible value. But scarcity is the true powerhouse here. Only a tiny number of flawless examples exist, and every year collectors and investors lock these coins away, making them even harder to find. This growing rarity is creating a sense of urgency among collectors, and it should create urgency for you too. Because while most people assume the coins in their home are worthless, the truth is that countless fortunes are lost simply because owners never bothered to check what they have. And let's be honest, when was the last time you really looked through that old coffee can full of pennies? Or the box in the attic your parents left behind? Studies show that Americans collectively hold billions of dollars worth of forgotten coins. Hidden wealth sitting in drawers, cabinets, garages, and safe deposit boxes. And yes, some of those stashes contain coins worth 5, 6, even 7 figures. Here's where things get even more interesting. Not every 1955 penny worth a fortune displays dramatic doubling. In fact, even regular no-mint mark wheat pennies from that year can fetch massive premiums when authenticated and graded at high levels, especially MS-65 and above. The right coin in the right condition at the right time can completely transform your financial future. But only if you know what to look for. Take a moment and imagine the possibility. What if the next millionaire-making 1955 penny is sitting right now in your home, untouched for decades? What if you're closer to a breakthrough moment than you've ever realized? That sense of discovery, that spark of possibility, is exactly why passionate collectors invest their time and energy into this hobby. Because sometimes the universe rewards those who simply pay attention. But of course, a coin isn't worth anything unless you know its true grade. And this is where many people unintentionally sabotage their own fortune. They touch the coin with bare fingers, they try cleaning it with chemicals, or they store it in unsafe containers. One wrong move can destroy thousands of dollars in value. That's why having your coin professionally graded by trusted companies like PCGS or NGC is essential. They're sealed. Tamper-proof holders protect your investment and validate its authenticity to collectors worldwide. Without authentication, your million-dollar coin could be mistaken for a regular penny worth just a few cents. Imagine the heartbreak of that. So yes, excitement is important, but fear can be a powerful motivator too. Fear of missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Fear of accidentally damaging a coin worth more than your car. Fear of selling too soon or too late. But don't let that fear paralyze you. Use it as fuel. Because the people who build wealth in collectibles are the ones who take the time to learn, act, and protect what they find. Now, let's talk about the market itself. The demand for premium-grade 1955 pennies is growing stronger every year. Wealthy investors are turning to rare coins as a hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty. While paper markets rise and fall, tangible assets like rare pennies hold steady. History shows that the value of exceptional numismatic pieces trends upward over time, especially when the supply is as limited as it is for the 1955 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. When your competition is a handful of elite collectors across the world, prices climb fast. What sells today for $955,000 might sell for $1.3 million just a few years from now. And if you think that's unrealistic, just look at similar historic coins that have more than doubled in value in a single decade. But here's a question worth asking. If this coin is so valuable, why haven't more people found one? The answer is simple. Most of the high-grade examples were removed from circulation early, stored carefully, or lost forever. And almost every remaining 1955 penny left in circulation has significant wear. Finding one in ordinary pocket change is extremely unlikely, but not impossible. And those long-forgotten collections handed down through families. They're the wild cards. That's where the hidden fortunes still lie. This is why you should never underestimate the treasure sitting quietly in your own home. People have discovered six-figure and seven-figure coins in jars, dresser drawers, old lunchboxes, and even metal toy chests. And sometimes the most valuable finds appear in the most ordinary places. Who knows? Maybe that old blue Whitman penny folder your grandfather filled decades ago is worth more today than his entire lifetime of savings. As we wind toward the final part of this story, here's a cliffhanger you didn't expect. The most valuable 1955 pennies ever sold weren't discovered by professional collectors. They were found by everyday people. People who simply took the time to look. People who were curious enough to ask questions. People just like you. And if you're still watching this video, it means you're not someone who leaves opportunity to chance. You're someone searching for a way to elevate your life, unlock hidden wealth, and claim the lifestyle you've always imagined. Whether your goal is to pay off your home, retire early, or pass down something valuable to your family, that journey can start with one small, unexpected discovery. So here's your next step. Go look. Search every box, every jar, every drawer. Examine every wheat penny you own. Take your time. Be patient. Be thorough. Because the 1955 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is proof that sometimes fortune doesn't come from working harder. It comes from recognizing value where others never bothered to look. And when you do find something promising, don't panic. Don't clean it. Don't rush. Get it authenticated. Protect it. And know that you're holding a piece of American history capable of changing your life. A coin worth up to $955,000 isn't just a collector's dream. It's a symbol of possibility. A reminder that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable power. And who knows? The next $1 million penny might be sitting in your hand sooner than you think. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and discovering a single penny. A penny so rare, so astonishing, that it could rewrite your entire financial future. Now imagine learning that this tiny copper coin, a 1964 D. Lincoln penny, could be worth up to millions of dollars, with current market examples reaching as high as $964,000. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet for a handful of everyday Americans, this dream has already become a reality. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the 1964 D penny is shaking the collector world, what makes certain examples extraordinarily valuable, and how an ordinary person might turn a forgotten coin into life-changing wealth. Before we dive deep, ask yourself one simple question. If one penny could change your entire financial life, would you even know how to recognize it? Most people don't. That's why most people miss opportunities that sit right in their own homes. But today, you won't. Everything begins in the early 1960s, when the United States Mint faced a coin shortage unlike anything the country had seen in decades. Americans were hoarding silver, collectors were scooping up mint sets, and the public demand for everyday change skyrocketed. In response, the Mint pushed production into overdrive. Denver struck billions of pennies in 1964 alone. Yes, billions, which makes the question even more intriguing. How could a coin minted in such massive numbers be worth more than a luxury home? The answer lies in the hidden variations, the mistakes, the anomalies, and the exceptionally rare examples that slipped through the cracks. Not all 1964 D pennies are created equal. Some contain minting errors so dramatic and unusual that professional graders have appraised them at extraordinary values. Others show an almost impossible level of preservation, surviving 6 decades with nearly perfect surfaces. A single high-grade specimen can ignite a bidding war among collectors who refuse to walk away empty-handed. After all, when a coin is the best of the best, you don't negotiate, you fight for it. But here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night. Not all of these pennies have been found. Many are still out there, tucked away in jars, coffee cans, dresser drawers, or inherited collections. And here's the part that stirs both fear and excitement. Ordinary people throw away fortunes every single year without knowing it. Someone somewhere has spent a rare 1964 D penny worth hundreds of thousands to buy a cup of coffee. Let's zoom in on the details that determine whether a 1964 D penny is just another coin or a financial time bomb. The first factor is condition. Everyone loves the idea of a high-grade coin, But with 1964 D pennies, the grading scale becomes ruthless. Collectors crave pristine, untouched surfaces with sharp details, vibrant luster, and zero distracting marks. A single scratch can drop a coin's value from extraordinary to ordinary. Imagine losing $50,000 because of one tiny contact mark. No pressure, right? But condition isn't the only treasure map. Some of the most valuable discoveries come from dramatic mint errors. Think double dies where the date or lettering appears doubled, off-center strikes where the design lands visibly misaligned, repunched mint marks that show the D stamped more than once, or coins struck on the wrong metal planchet. An extremely rare occurrence that has led to six-figure sales. If you've ever looked at a coin and thought, something seems off, congratulations, you're already thinking like a collector. And sometimes something seems off can pay off very handsomely. And then there is the holy grail of rarity, the perfectly preserved 1964 D penny in high mint state. These are the coins that have achieved jaw-dropping prices at auction. You may wonder, who saved these coins in such perfect shape? Sometimes it was mint employees, sometimes it was collectors, and sometimes, believe it or not, it was pure accident. A forgotten roll of pennies tucked away for decades can become a hidden treasure chest. Perhaps even one that belongs to you. Let's imagine, for a moment, that you're holding a coin like this. Feel the weight of possibility in your hand. That tiny copper disc could pay off debt, cover college tuition, upgrade your home, launch a business, or even help you retire early. This is where emotion becomes reality. This is where the thrill of discovery meets the promise of financial transformation. And yes, it's normal if your heart beats a little faster. Now, let's address a fear many viewers feel at this point. What if I've already handled rare coins roughly? What if I've cleaned them? What if I've sent valuable ones back into circulation? The truth is, almost everyone has. But here's the good news, you're here now. You're learning what others never took the time to understand. The opportunity is still very real, and the 1964 D penny is still one of the most overlooked hidden gems in American coinage. As the demand for rare coins rises, so does competition among collectors. The market for high-grade and rare 1964 D pennies has surged. And with new collectors entering the market, especially investors seeking alternative assets, prices have continued climbing. When a coin category grows this quickly, people who act early benefit the most. People who wait, well, let's just say hesitation has never made anyone wealthy. And speaking of hesitation, this is where urgency becomes your best friend. Somewhere out there, someone will find the next record-breaking 1964 D penny. Someone will walk into an appraisal and walk out staring at an offer that looks like a phone number. Someone will turn a penny into a powerful financial windfall. The question is, why shouldn't that someone be you? You may already be wondering how to examine your own coins, how to search for errors, how to evaluate condition, or where to sell a valuable piece if you find one. The path is simpler than most people realize. It begins with taking action. Pulling out your old jars, checking those inherited boxes, and examining coins with curiosity and patience. It continues by learning what collectors look for, comparing your coin against known error varieties, and getting professional grading when necessary. And it ends with confidence. The confidence to recognize treasure when you hold it. Still, the story isn't finished, because one detail makes the 1964 D penny even more mysterious. Rumors of ultra-rare test strikes, special mint sets, and experimental pieces from the era have fueled decades of speculation. Some collectors believe there are varieties that haven't even been publicly identified yet. Imagine being the first person in history to uncover a previously unknown mint error from the early 1960s. Imagine being the one who names it. Imagine the headlines. If that thought doesn't spark a little thrill, check your pulse. As we near the end, there's one more truth you need to hear. Wealth rarely comes from waiting. It comes from awareness, from preparation, from taking the small steps others ignore. Somewhere in your home, maybe right now, there could be a penny that changes everything. A penny that turns fear into possibility, that transforms curiosity into action, and that elevates your financial future to levels you never imagined. So take a moment today. Look through those old coins. Revisit the collections handed down through generations. Examine everything carefully, because the next extraordinary 1964 penny is still out there, waiting for its owner to realize its worth. And who knows, maybe the next life-changing discovery won't be a story you're watching. Imagine discovering that a tiny copper coin buried in a jar, forgotten in a drawer, or handed to you in childhood is now worth more than luxury cars, more than a down payment on a mansion, and in some cases even more than a retirement portfolio. Sounds unbelievable, right? And yet, today we're talking about exactly that. The astonishing 1971 mint Mark Lincoln penny, a seemingly ordinary 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors, stunned auction houses, and climbed to a current market value reaching as high as $971,000. Yes, a penny approaching $1 million. Suddenly checking your old change drawer doesn't sound so funny anymore. But how did this humble coin, something most people wouldn't bother to pick up off the street, reach such extraordinary value? And more importantly, how can you tell if you have one hiding among your own collection? Stay with me until the very end of this video, because what you're about to learn could change the way you look at every coin you've ever owned. And trust me, you do not want to miss the final detail we reveal. To understand why this penny became a financial phenomenon, we have to begin with the world in which it was born. The year was 1971. The US Mint was striving for precision, but technology was far from perfect. Minting errors were not unusual, yet some mistakes were so rare, so subtle, and so unrepeatable that they became legends. The San Francisco Mint, responsible for proof coins, coins made with superior detail, accidentally produced variations so unexpected that decades later, collectors still consider them the holy grail of Lincoln cents. Here's where the story gets interesting. The 1971 penny exists in a few extremely rare double die varieties, coins on which parts of the design were struck twice, creating a shadowed, doubled effect on the date, the letters, and Lincoln's profile. These errors aren't just rare, they're breathtakingly scarce. And when scarcity meets demand, value skyrockets. That's the magic formula behind every six-figure coin. Rarity, condition, and collector obsession. Combine all three, and suddenly 1 cent becomes a life-changing asset. Now let's pause for a moment. When was the last time you checked your childhood coin stash? When was the last time you looked closely, really closely, at a penny? Most people glance for a second and move on. But what if the coin sitting right under your nose could pay off your mortgage? What if the very thing you've ignored is actually the key to unlocking the wealth you've dreamed about? Funny how life hides opportunity in the smallest places. As collectors realized how limited the double die 1971 pennies were, prices soared beyond expectations. At auctions, dealers watched in disbelief as bids climbed higher and higher. A coin once seen as nothing more than a shiny souvenir sold for tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, until eventually breaking into the realm of nearly $1 million. And here's the cliffhanger. One known example, in pristine proof condition with flawless surfaces, shocked the collecting world when it was valued at $971,000, and experts believe the next sale could hit the $1 million mark or even surpass it. Imagine the headlines when that happens. The emotional weight of that possibility hits anyone who has ever held on to family keepsakes or old collections. That thrill, that hope, that spark of possibility. What if? And right behind that excitement comes a wave of fear. What if you already had one and accidentally spent it? What if it slipped through your fingers years ago? What if you've overlooked something priceless? Fear can be powerful, but so can opportunity. And you're here right now, which means your timing couldn't be better. Now, people always ask, what exactly makes the 1971 penny so unbelievably valuable? Why this coin and not the millions of other pennies from the same era? The answer lies in the microscopic world of minting craftsmanship. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint were supposed to be perfect. Every design element crisp, every letter sharp, every detail flawless. So when an error occurred, especially a double die, something that absolutely should not have slipped through, it became a unicorn. A mistake wrapped inside perfection. That contradiction alone makes collectors lose sleep. And then comes the condition factor. The most valuable examples are graded by professional services, sealed into protective slabs, and certified at the highest levels. A top-graded 1971's double die penny is so visually striking that even non-collectors can spot the doubling with the naked eye. That's when the bidding war begins. That's when phones come out, wallets open, and collectors fight for a chance at a once-in-a-lifetime coin. It's the kind of item people whisper about at conventions. The kind of coin that turns a small collector into a legend. You might be wondering, do regular people actually find these coins? The surprising answer is yes. Some are discovered in old proof sets inherited from parents or grandparents. Others appear in estate sales where dusty boxes get opened for the first time in decades. Sometimes they're tucked inside drawers, quietly waiting for someone with patience and curiosity to take a closer look. The universe has a strange sense of humor, doesn't it? But here's where the urgency comes in. Every day that passes, more old collections are being sold for pocket change because people don't realize what they have. More rare coins are slipping through the cracks. More wealth is being lost simply because someone didn't take the time to look. That's why today matters. That's why you're watching this. You're ahead of the curve. You're gaining knowledge most people overlook, and that alone gives you an advantage in the world of rare coins. So how can you check your own 1971's pennies? First, look for the S mint mark under the date. That's your starting point. Next, check for signs of doubling on the date, the letters Liberty, and the words "In God We Trust." If you see anything unusual, any doubling, any shadowing, any unusual thickness, your heart might just skip a beat. And if your coin happens to be a proof coin with deep mirror surfaces, well, let's just say you should sit down before you look up its value. But let me leave you with something even more thrilling. Experts believe that not all 1971's double dies have been discovered yet. In other words, hidden treasures still exist. And someone someday is going to find the next $1 million penny. Maybe it will be a seasoned collector. Maybe it will be someone casually flipping through a dusty album. Or maybe, just maybe, it will be you. Before we wrap up, there's one more twist. The $971,000 valuation isn't the ceiling. It's the floor for what's coming next. As more collectors enter the market and competition grows fiercer, values for rare error coins like this one are expected to skyrocket. We're talking generational wealth from a single coin. Yes, the kind of wealth that changes lives, creates opportunities, and helps ordinary people step into extraordinary lifestyles. And it all starts with knowledge. Knowledge you now have. So the question becomes, what will you do with it? Will you dig out your old coin collection? Will you search your proof sets? Will you finally look closely at the pennies you've ignored for years? Or will you let this moment pass and wonder forever if you missed your chance? If you're still watching, then something inside you knows the truth. Wealth doesn't just appear. It reveals itself to those willing to look. The 1971's Lincoln penny is proof of that, literally. And who knows? Your next discovery might be worth far more than you ever imagined.